Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Kathy Andis with Simply Cards by Kathy, and today is Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. I am really excited to share with you today. We're going to actually use the Stampin' Up! Watercolor pencils, and I'll go over some tips and tricks for using those, and we're going to use it with the Irresistible Blooms stamp set. I just think that large floral image is perfect for using the watercolor pencils. And the card we're going to make today is actually part of the Crafty Collaborations Technique Tuesday blog hop. So, another reason for doing the watercolors. The theme for this month's blog hop was watercoloring, and I thought this would be great for both a video and for the blog hop. So I am going to switch this camera down and we're going to get started. So today we are going to be using the Irresistible Blooms bundle. This is one of the online exclusives. I love this stamp set and I love the paper with it. And you've seen me use it before where I've die cut the images and used it. But today we're actually going to color using our watercolor pencils. So I'm going to take this large image out. This is what we're going to be using. And I'm actually going to be using my Stamparatus, and you're going to see why. I know this is here until it's gone. It's going away, but don't stop using it. It's just such a wonderful tool, and I just think use what you have. I'm going to keep using it. So for today, because we are going to do watercoloring, we're going to be using the Stampin' Up! Fluid 100 watercolor paper. Now this is in the annual catalog, and I have cut a piece that's 3 by 5 1/4. And you're going to see me, I'm going to move this up so you can see it. I'm going to put this right in the corner here. Because that holds my paper, my watercolor paper, or even when I'm using cardstock in place. And then I'm going to line up my image where I want it. And we're going to simply close this and pick up our image. Okay. Now today, because we're using the Stampin' Up! Watercolor pencils, and I've actually pulled the colors that I'm going to be using for this floral image and the leaves. So we're going to be using a rich razzleberry, melon mambo, granny apple green, our garden green, and our daffodil delight. So I know rich razzleberry is going away, but it's here for another month, and I'm going to keep on using it. So with watercoloring, you want to use your StazOn ink. It is permanent ink, and it won't run, and it's for watercoloring. So I am going to ink this up, and I'm going to put something. You can use another stamp pad. I'm just going to put the stamp set under there, and I'm going to ink this up real well. And I ended up, we're going to end up stamping this several times because I want a nice, dark, crisp image to watercolor. So I'm going to go ahead and press that down. I have my little tool here that helps me press. And I'm going to pick it up, and you're going to see there, hopefully you can see there's just a few little lines in there that aren't colored, or some areas that aren't colored. So we're going to re-ink this, and I had just re-inked my stamp pad, so we should get pretty good coverage. I hope you're having a good week. That looks perfect. I think all we need to do is those 2 stamps for that. Now we're going to add to this, but I want to show you a quick tip and importance of cleaning. The StazOn ink is permanent. If you don't, comes off the red rubber stamps easier. If you use it with the photopolymer stamps, you want to clean it in a fairly quick manner. You don't want to let it set for a day. So this is the StazOn ink cleaner. You simply wipe it on with the tip, and then I just clean my stamps off. I always have a couple microfiber cloths that I keep at my desk. And then once you clean it with Stays-On, I clean it with my Stampin' Mist. And I just want to clean that off. So we're done with this image. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back. And then we're going to add our leaves. Now to do that, I've cut a mask. So let's pull our leaves out here. Now, some of you may be asking, what's a mask? Well, this is just a Post-it note. And I stamp the floral image on the Post-it note, and then I fussy cut it around. And I put a piece of, just a little strip of non-adhesive tape on there. And we're going to cover our image that's on our watercolor paper with the mask. Now, when you cut your image, you don't want to leave any white or green, whatever color you're using, around the edge. You want it pretty close to your stamped image, because otherwise you're going to have a gap between your two stamps when you do stamp them. So with this, I'm going to use the triple leaf, and I'm going to position this right about here. Now, I may cut off a little bit of that leaf, but I don't care, because you're never going to know. I just want to make sure that I have a nice image that kind of flows right in from the flower to the leaves. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to bring this up just a little bit here. And now I'm going to close this again and pick these up. And now we're going to ink these and stamp them. So I'm pretty confident with where they're at. So again, I'm going to put my stamp set under there before I ink. Now you can see I got a little bit of ink, maybe you can't, on the edge here. I don't want to take a chance of that getting on my paper. So I'm going to just wipe it off gently with my microfiber cloth, and we're going to press down. Okay. And again, I want nice coverage on those leaves that are supposed to be filled in. So I'm just going to re-ink here. And we're going to re-stamp. And that looks great. So I'm going to take this out, and look at you. Peel off your mask and look at how the leaves are just, we have a little fuzz there. Look at how the leaves just kind of fit right within the flower, and you have no gaps in between there. And you can reuse this. I've used this this is the third time already. So I'm going to set this off to the side, and before I do want to clean my stamps. I can at least clean them with the Stays-On and hit them with the Stampin' Mist when we're all done here. So we're going to set these off. And we're done with our Stays-On ink. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that up. And I'm going to bring in our image. Now, I'm not going to color the whole image for you. I did do one ahead of time so that you didn't have to watch me color the whole thing. So I'm going to bring in my pencils, and I'm using the Rich Razzleberry and Melon Mambo for the flower, the Garden Green and the Granny Apple Green for the leaves, and for the center of the flower, the yellow. And I have just a little pink palette here that I've added some water to. And I'm going to use my watercolor painter, or my water painter from Stampin' Up. And this is the smallest. They come in a set of 3. Each one kind of gradates up in size. And I'm using the smallest one. So I don't want to get this too saturated, which is why I have my water here and something I can wipe off on. So I want to start to color, and we're going to start with our flower. I'm going to use the rich raspberry. I'm going to use it on the inside because I want my color to kind of blend, and I want the dark towards the inside of the petals. And then I'm going to add my lighter color. So you can see, hopefully you can see me adding on the inside of the petals some of the dark. And I'm following some of the accent lines that Stampin' Up! Has put in. Now I'm going to take my Melon Mambo, and I'm not pressing hard at all. I'm just adding color because I want, you're going to see that you don't need to press a lot. They're going to blend just beautifully. So here's our Melon Mambo. Now let's go ahead and let me show you. I've added some water. I'm not going to squeeze from my barrel at all. Again, because I don't want it too dark. And I want my color, I want my light color to stay light, but to blend into the rich raspberry. So I'm going to start from the outside of the petal and pull in because I want that color to stay kind of separate and just blended where they meet. Now you could pull from the inside here out, and you'd see that your rich raspberry will blend out into your Melon Mambo, and that's okay too. It's just the look that you're going for. So I'm going to flip this around, and we're just going to blend in here. Let me pull that up for you and let you see. Isn't that pretty? You can see the variations in colors and how they blend. Let's do just a little bit more, and then I'm going to do the leaves in the center for you. I won't make you watch me color the entire flower. I love coloring, so I not only love using the Stampin' blends, but I really do use the Stampin' Up! Watercolor pencils. I have just regular colored pencils, and I even have some soft pastel chalk pencils that I use. And it's just a fun way. I find it very relaxing, and it's just a fun way to add to your creations. So again, I'm going to pull in, and you can see these blending really nicely. And then I just want to make sure that I get my edges because I don't want any white showing or any of the watercolor paper that's not colored. Okay, so here's the center of our flower, and I would finish the rest of the flower the same way. So I'm going to clean my brush off here. And let's do the leaves. So for the leaves, I want to use my garden green, and I'm going to follow the accent lines that were a part of the stamp. Let's do that here. And you don't have to be real particular. And then I'm going to take my granny apple green and fill in the rest. And let's do this one too. Okay, so now I'm just going to wet again and wipe again a lot of the water off. And we're just going to paint. Spread your ink or spread your water on your paintbrush and blend those colors together. And with these, I do want them to blend. I want to see some variation in the color, but I want them to look, I think, pretty natural. So there's our leaves. Aren't they pretty? Hopefully you can see them here. Now I want to show you how to do the center of that flower. And I don't want my yellow to bleed into my melon mambo there. So I'm going to add my yellow, and I want it to be pretty vibrant. So I am pressing, adding some pressure here. I love these watercolor pencils. And then I have my tip. You saw me clean it and wipe it off. And I'm going to pull towards the center and not go into where my melon mambo is, because I don't want those two colors. I don't want to change the color of my pink or my bright yellow. So I'm just kind of pulling from this into the center. And here's the center of our flower. So hopefully you can see that. Isn't that pretty? So let me bring in the finished one and let you see it. Now, each time you do it, it's going to look a little bit different, but here it is finished. And hopefully you can see that. Isn't that pretty? I love the way it turned out. I love that rich raspberry color. I'm really going to miss it. So this is what we're going to use on our card. So let's go ahead and put our card together. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm happy you're here. And if you're returning and watch me either live or replay, thank you so much for your support. I'm very appreciative of that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love if you'd hit that subscribe button, and you'll get notified when I either post a new video or I go live. Now we're using Very Vanilla. This is a 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and fold this into the hill, and we're going to burnish it with our bone folder. So just want to give it a quick burnishing because I want it to lay flat. Now, for a layer, I'm using the Distressed Gold. That was in our mini catalog, and it is carrying over in the new catalog that is coming out in May. So this is cut at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And I'm going to go ahead and add some multi-purpose glue, and we're going to adhere this to the front of our card. Now, if you're new to Stampin' Up! And you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would be honored to have the opportunity to earn your business. And if you need a catalog, please go up to the top of my YouTube channel where you will see a little icon that will take you over to my website and contact me, and I'll be happy to send you a catalog in the mail. So here's our Distressed Gold. And then even though it's retiring, I have a month that I can still use my rich raspberry. This is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And I use the Cane Weave embossing folder to emboss this because I wanted to give it some texture. So let's go ahead and adhere this layer. Now, when I'm adhering embossed layers, I do use my multi-purpose glue because you can see even with me putting the glue on, it's tough getting it in the grooves. And I want this to be able to lay flat. I don't want it lifting up. That'd be terrible. Send that to someone and have it lift up or come off. So I do put a fair amount of glue on. I go over the edges and I just make sure that I have a decent amount on there. And I just find it holds better for me. than if I use the tape. So I want this just to have a nice gold edge, and I'm going to give it a good push. Now, just a quick tip, if you do have trouble with layers adhering, I've gone, if you go to somewhere like Home Depot or Lowe's, you can get these granite blocks. And I use these and I'll lay them on there to just hold it down for just a few minutes while, let's say, we get everything else ready. And I'll put it so that if there's an edge, it holds it down. This one is actually adhered quite well. But that's a tip if you have trouble getting something to adhere. Now I'm going to use this right here, but a couple things I want to do before we do that. I want to stamp my greeting, and I'm actually going to stamp the hello from the Irresistible Bloom sets right up here in the corner using Memento ink. And then I thought it'd be nice or pretty to use some of this very vanilla and gold ribbon and maybe wrap it right around here. It kind of picks up some of the gold. So let's go ahead and do those two things. So let's stamp our greeting first. Now for the greeting, I am going to use the Memento Tuxedo black ink. And I want to make sure that I have this inked up really, really well. Because remember, your watercolor paper has a texture to it. It's a little bumpy. And I want to make sure that I get good coverage. And that looks pretty good. So there's our greeting. Now we're going to add some of this vanilla and gold ribbon. So I'm going to pull out my Stampin' Seal Plus and grab my snips, and we're going to go ahead and wrap this right around the front. Now to adhere this, I'm going to go ahead and run some some tape right along the edge here. And I'm going to adhere this right here, and that will hold it. And then I want to I'm going to bring it down just a little bit here because I don't want it to cover my leaves. And then I'm going to bring it across. That looks good. And just trim it. And we're going to add some tape, Stampin' Seal Plus, over on this side. And I want to make sure it's straight. And I know where my Stampin' Seal Plus is because I just put it down. So I'm just going to reach back and tack it down there. Okay, now we're ready to adhere this to the front of our card. Now, this is, I did this purposely. I wanted this to run the full length of the rich razzleberry. So we're going to go ahead and adhere this to our textured layer. Now you could glue it or you could pop it up with Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm actually going to glue it. So I'm going to add some glue here, and I'm going to go right over my ribbon. That's okay with me. And again, just like the embossed layer, I want to make sure that I add enough glue because again, this is going to adhere to an embossed layer. And I want to make sure I get it to adhere well. So let's go ahead . That looks pretty good. Okay, let's go ahead and we're just going to press down. I'm going to give it a good press. All right, now I want to add a little bow to this. So I'm just going to cut a small piece of the vanilla and gold ribbon. And I'm going to come under it and I'm simply going to tie a knot. And then we're going to trim our ends. And that looks good. So I'm going to trim these shorter. And I trim on an angle. This ribbon is actually pretty good. Some of them fray, so if you do trim on an angle, it seems to help that a little bit. So here's our ribbon. Now, if you don't want that to move around, you can take a glue dot, which is what I do, and I grab my pick tool, and I'm simply going to pick up a glue dot here, and I'm going to pop it under the back where that ribbon is and the knot, and we're going to go ahead and tack that down, and now it's not moving. So here's the outside of our card. Now for the inside, what I did for the inside is I cut a layer of rich raspberry. This is 4 by 5 1/4, and I have a layer of very vanilla that's 3 3/4 by 5. And I want to go ahead and stamp my greeting. So the greeting I'm using is also from Irresistible Blooms. I did the hello on the front, and I couldn't be happier to have you as my friend. So let's go ahead and ink this up. Again, I'm going to use my tuxedo black and make sure that's good. Okay, I line my cardstock up on a line. I have already tested this on a piece of grid paper, so I knew it was straight. And I cut a piece of the distressed gold to run across the bottom to add a little bit of, little bit of flair to the inside of the card. So let's go ahead and we're going to put that on, and then we'll put our 2 layers together. And we're going to add this. So I hope that you're having a good week, or that you have some fun planned. It's a busy week for the demonstrators. We are all able to order from the new catalog starting tomorrow. And you can bet I will be up at 5 o'clock doing that. So we're going to adhere this right here. I love this color. I'm really, really going to miss rich raspberry, but we have so many beautiful colors coming to us, and I'll be excited to share those with you. So let's add this. Okay, so there's the front of our card. So let's see, is there anything we can add to the front of this to give it a little bit of bling? And I wasn't going to, but now that I'm looking at it with you, I thought it might be fun to add some, I don't know, maybe even a butterfly to that, maybe a brass butterfly. So let's pick up one of those. Yeah, let's put him here. And there's our card. So now let's add a little Wink of Stella to this. We can do that. And I've pulled my Wink of Stella out, and let's just add a little bit. I'm going to put just a little bit on the inside inner part of the petals. And the reason is I want it to kind of look like it's dew-kissed, like it's got a little bit of dew on it from the early morning. And hopefully you'll be able to see that. Let me pick that up and show that to you. So I don't know if you can see the Wink of Stella or not, but there's our card. I just think it's very rich looking with the colors, and I'd be happy to get it. Isn't that pretty? Let me bring you back to me for a minute. I hope you enjoyed today's card. I certainly enjoyed making it and showing it to you. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd love it if you'd give me a thumbs up. It helps me grow my channel. And feel free to share the video on your Facebook page or wherever you may share. And I hope you have a great week. I will be back with you on Friday at 11 a.m. And I look forward to seeing you then. Have a great week, everyone.